Hello and welcome to episode 78 of the Dash Force Free Amigos podcast. I'm Mark Mason and I'm joined by my two fellow amigos, Joel Valenzuela. How's it going, Joel?
Yo.
You're looking very dashy in your hat. What's that hat about?
It's a CanMed hat. Thanks to Justin for swiping it for me. But yeah, shout out to the CanMed folks. Got a great thing going on. And to Kevin. Kevin's a great guy. Kevin McKernan.
Awesome. Shout out, Kevin. We love you. And how's it going? And we've got Mastermind, our last but not least amigo. How's it going?
Excellent.
So if you missed the previous podcast, this episode, we don't have a guest because we've decided to kick it old school style with the original three amigos. Because where we've been having so many guests on, we don't actually get that much time to talk about events that happened during the week, news, drama. And this week was quite a big week. Like Sunday, we had the stress test. Yeah. So we should probably start.
Brian was sending messages saying, come on, baby, we never talk anymore. And so then here we are, I guess.
It's not far off, actually. But yeah, let's talk about the stress test. So that happened on Sunday. Now, it was a success. Now, initially, the aim was to reach about 5 million transactions.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
And the end result was just over 3 million. Was you guys avidly watching on Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was like 50-50. I kind of had it in Delta Engine's core. I was just paying attention. But it's pretty interesting. I didn't analyze every last block and things like that. I hear it went very well. I did watch the Masternode count drop by about 68, which is pretty funny. Apparently, one unnamed service provider of hosting does it on the cheap, and they all got wiped out.
Oh, interesting. So, yes. I was wondering. I knew we were going to take out, so I didn't know that's why it was just one provider. That's interesting. Who was it? Call him out.
It was Flare, from what I hear. Now,
it wasn't Flare. Mine's so good.
All right. Well, I guess someone
at least part of them. I don't know.
Someone was lying to me then. Maybe he's just socializing the cost of your master among the other by paying for shitty things. But anyway, yeah. So about 68, or which is like 1.5% of the nodes went down, which for a 3 million transaction load is just not that bad. The rest worked pretty well. It was a few blocks were not full, like. Despite the mempool being fairly full, for example, some providers like Antpool, some miners like Antpool were not mining full blocks. Yeah. And I don't know. I guess it's not profitable to mine full blocks, but at some point, when the block reward becomes less significant than the actual fees, I think we'll see something different. So the TLDR on that is Bitcoin Cash did like a 2.1 million transaction load a few weeks or a month ago or whenever it was. Dash just did over 3 million, and everything ran really well. Nothing really broke. I think the Dash Core's Insight instance crashed or something like that. But there's, this is not typical stuff at all. So for a couple of minor outlying services to have crashed, it's not too bad. I think Spark was having problems too during that time, but I don't want to throw Codex into the bus.
We were going for 5 million. What happened? I think there were some crashes on Delta's end with some of his nodes or something. Is that right?
There was some of that, but a lot of it was just some miners were not putting in full blocks as well. It's like Antpool. So there's a few things, but it worked out well.
Yeah, ultimately, it was a successful test. I'm still waiting to be fully debriefed, and I still think they're analyzing the results. But from what Delta Engine shared in Discord, he was talking about there was some difficulties with some of the nodes and how, for the next stress test, there are things he can put in place to do that. And I think Core that mentioned as well that they're particularly interested in this. So lessons have been learned, which was what it was all about. We need to push the boundaries to find out what the limitations are, to find out what those problems are, to solve them. So it was a successful test.
At first I thought about the stress test stuff. I thought, it's just cool to prove what we already know. But now I'm starting to think that these kinds of things need to be conducted regularly on the mainnet, especially when you increase the capacity. And by the way, it's funny to note that Dash is doing this all with 2 megabyte blocks, which sounds hilariously small. Although the context being it's the equivalent of 8 megabyte blocks because of the faster block time. But it's still, when you hear like, oh, we got these 128 megabyte blocks, we're gonna fill them and all this kind of stuff, and then Dash is beating the record with just like teeny blocks, but just smooth, just over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, we have the record now until possibly until the 17th. I wonder how that's going to work out with the Bitcoin Cash and all the mess that they've got going.
Yeah, well, I guess we can talk about Bitcoin Cash a bit later on, because I feel like that's just going to consume everything. So, I think we'll probably do that to about halfway or towards the end.
Well, I just checked it. I'll give you a quick update real quick. Yeah, ABC is 24 blocks ahead right now.
Ooh.
God, man.
Yeah, let's talk about. Can we not talk about it now? Because
let's hold on.
Let's talk about it just real quick, because Strophe was saying that somehow maybe Craig Wright is building a secret block and he's going to launch it somehow. I don't know. It gets really confusing. And
yeah, but then there's a checkpoint and stuff. And I don't know. We're talking about it too much already. Let's just talk about my copy of Dash today.
Yeah. So it was a very, very eventful week. So that was the stress test, which was great. There's an article on Dashforce News. Check that out. Also, as well, we got some great media coverage as well. There's quite a few articles on that as well, which is always good to have some media coverage. But on the Monday, we had the Dashcore Group summary call for Q3. And did you guys get to watch that? It was pretty interesting because we had some interesting revelations. So although I feel like some people kind of missed what the summary call is about. It's meant to recap over what happened in Q3. And I think a lot of people are kind of like, what's next? Because they were just happy to hear from the core group. But I think the biggest takeaway from me was the 0.14. When Bob kind of gave an updated graphic of the roadmap of progress, no times, but just what's going ahead. And I think 0.14, no one anticipated. It was kind of like Ninja dropped, or Ninja. Well, it wasn't Ninja launched; it was Ninja dropped on the roadmap. So
it's been a long-standing trope that the Dash Core team has been very bad at communication, and this was no exception. I mean, I'm not trying to talk too much shit, but come on, at some point. So obviously, version 0.13 was going to be the name for full Evolution release and the Dash Pay wallet, and then they changed it to. Now 0.13 is what was 0.12.4, and they did announce that at some point, and then it was supposed to be all right. 0.13's out, and then 1.0 is probably gonna be out a couple of months later, maybe by the end of the year. And then all of a sudden there's 0.14. Oh, by the way, we have not even. Oh, in case you're wondering what that's doing up there, we're introducing it's there right now. It's just sort of like, I don't know. It's just sort of like you're married, you go home to your parents or whatever, and you go home with your wife to your parents for Thanksgiving. It's fine. The next year, you just kind of show up with someone else, and you just don't tell them in between. You're like, who is that? And then, oh yeah, it's my new wife. And you got a new wife. No, you didn't tell us. What the?
Do we know what's being left out? I think the long-living masternode quorums is the only thing I saw that was...
Yeah, LLMQs seem to be the only thing in that milestone.
Yeah, so I think that's the kind of backstory. So while it was still titled 12.4, they actually... They hoped to launch it before, but they wanted to put more stuff into it, which was why the release has been slightly delayed. So we are getting more, but the reason why 0.14 is on there now is because I believe there's... the functionality with LLMQs is going to be in that. So I don't think that's going to be, it's nowhere near as major a release as what 0.13 will be. And I was very happy to see the blog update post that was posted afterwards about 0.13, which kind of broke down all the features as well. So it is still a big release. We're still waiting for it. I expect, this is just speculation, but I'm expecting it not to be released until after the next super block, just because of the voting cycle that we're in right now. But anything could happen. But either way, sometimes I do think we get too hung up on dates. Now, I know everyone's been waiting in anticipation, especially from the previous quarterly call, because we did have that draft roadmap with the dates. However, just looking at that blog post and everything that's been put in, just from the instant send, and for me personally, I don't use private send a lot, but I'm going to be using it a lot more now, because if it is improved, it's going to be faster. It's going to be so much easier. Up to 16 rounds, the extra denomination. It's going to make my life a lot easier, especially when it comes to payday.
So that was the interest. Speaking of private send, and of course being easier to use and all that. I mean, that's always great. Justin put out an article this morning that I was helping him with late last night, poking around with. Apparently, 2 wallets have come out for Bitcoin and for Bitcoin Cash that implement a form of private send. And I was just saying, like, oh, this is historic. It's all come to Bitcoin, all this kind of stuff. So I basically had Justin write it, and then I kind of helped rearrange parts of the article. But thanks for Justin, and also for Joshua and Pasta for getting all the info together. But it was looking into it. It's just like every time I see what these like amateurs are doing, here's a shit talk moment. Sorry. Every time I see what these other people are doing, I just contrast it with like what Dash is doing. Even the good stuff is just like I'm never like, oh, that's genius. Dash should do something like that. It's always the other way around, or it's like y'all got to get on Dash's level. So, for example, the mixing wallets. First off, they rely on a central, or in the case of I believe the Bitcoin Cash one, there's a few different ones you could choose from, but a single server to do the mixing. It is relatively trustless from what I've heard, because of the way they have it set up. But it's you just have one entity, one server, or a couple servers that do the actual peer-to-peer mixing. And from what I hear, it's also like 1 round of mixing. So it works to help obfuscate transaction origin and improve privacy. But could contrast that with Dash, which has like 5,000 different servers, i.e. master nodes, that are helping doing the mixing. You can do up to 16 rounds of mixing, in a week or so, whenever this is out. And you don't have to rely on this service being maintained. It's like part of the Dash protocol is that you get this massive network just there. And same thing with like Lightning Network. You got Lightning nodes. You got to run up a bunch of Lightning nodes. You got to trust them, and their profit model is extra to the Bitcoin network. Whereas all the awesome stuff Dash is doing is just in Dash's proprietary master network. Just y'all got to catch up.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a long time too. One thing that I didn't see in the article that I don't think they're doing is like the different denominations. Correct? That was nowhere in the article.
I honestly didn't look too closely into that part.
Yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big part of our privacy. But yeah, they're just now catching. They're way behind. At least they're doing something. But yeah,
they're not mobile wallets either, are they? These are like desktop kind of like plugin integrations. Because I did click on a few of the links, and they'll go into like GitHub pages and stuff. Yeah. And one's using like CoinJoin, other one's using like a Coin Shuffle. So one's just using like one centralized server, and the other one has a few servers, but it's under one centralized service. So it's
And honestly, if I was still using Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, I'd be taking advantage of these services, and I'd be very happy that they exist. Good improvement. It's just, why do you have to like? What Todd just posted in the live chat, 1 round of mixing is crap. Yeah, why not? It's just, I don't understand why you'd put yourself through all this misery when there's a better solution available. Like, why would you use Western Union to send funds if you can send it with Dash, for example? Why would you drive a car without power steering? Like, I've done it plenty times before when I was small and weak, and it was really hard. I can do it, but I want to get with the 21st century. Gosh.
Yeah. Now the 13.0 release, where it's supposed to be private send for the SPV wallets as well. Is that right?
It's supposed to be. It's enabled, as in it's possible now. But that does mean that you have to do it yourself. And so it's all about, I don't think it's going to be on the core team's priority in the short or midterm to start rolling that into those wallets. But we could pester some people like My Dash Wallet, maybe get our Spaghetti-O friend on it, get some extra people. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty interesting. Although, if you think about it, right now with my Dash wallet, you can send private send transactions using their centralized server. So it's at least at the level of these other solutions on mobile, if not better. And of course, privacy is better, but you still have to trust the my Dash wallet server. But I mean, hey.
Yeah, I would like to see it in the Hash Engineering wallet, and then we're also paying quite a bit for this Electrum wallet, the Dash. So I would expect it to be in there. I would hope with the money we're paying, it would be implemented.
I don't understand keeping that Electrum wallet thing. I never used it. I just use the full node Dash wallet, or I use like mobile wallets and stuff. But anyway, that's just me.
I like it. One thing I'm looking forward to is instant send by default. I think I don't think we're making a big enough song and dance about that, but hopefully,
we will.
When the release comes out, we'll propagate that a lot more outside the community.
Yeah, the next stress test is going to be interesting with that. That's going to be real interesting.
Yeah. Didn't we do an article? Didn't Justin do an article about that? About the scalability of private send? I know that
yes,
Dr. Darren Tapp of the ASU research team chimed in and basically said that as far as like how much the network is able to process, instant send scales way faster than the actual network. So it should be really easy. The challenge, though, is can you instant send back and forth? Like, so for example, what if I have absolutely full blocks in a giant mempool because you're trying to process 5 million transactions, you only have 3 that can go through. Sure, you can get a bunch of them through, but then the second send might be a little bit more difficult to then get done. But it's still, I mean, it's better than just doing a zero conf with like say Bitcoin Cash and then just waiting a day or more until stuff gets through.
Yeah, what do you mean by the second send? You're meaning like once I get it, then to resend it? Because don't you have to still wait for 6 confirmations?
Yeah, I believe the inputs are locked for 5. There's been a few little differences with the default instant send and Codablock. Man, like, can we just like fast forward time on that person alone? Because he's working on so many blog posts and dips and stuff. And any question I have, he's just like, oh, we got a dip coming for that soon. Like, all right, I just gotta wait.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the case. And I think with the community still has so much to learn just about some of the dips still yet to be announced, but even the ones that are coming in 0.13 and 0.14 and what functionality they're actually going to bring. The coder block is amazing, right? And he's definitely a machine workhorse. That the posts that he does on the dips, the previous one on the LMNQs, was quite technical and quite a difficult read. And what we're anticipating is hopefully there's going to be more blog posts that actually show what this can do. And I think then like the penny's going to drop for a lot of people, because right now everything just sounds amazing, but they're still putting that pieces of the puzzle together. They're just thinking like, how does that affect me as an end user? Like, and so I'm sure that they're just putting in the foundation to make all this cool stuff work. And yeah, without hyping it up too much, I think we still, as a community, need to learn and understand that a lot more. And as this information comes out, Joel and Justin will be breaking that down and making it easy to understand, to spoon feed you all and just simplify it.
Yeah,
and
I'll be spoon feeding the what out of stuff people. Just get this all out there, because that's one thing that I don't think people have seen something like this before in terms of Dash. No one's seen a next gen Bitcoin based blockchain. Like, people have seen Bitcoin, they've had like some cheap knockoffs of Bitcoin, and especially cheap if you're talking about Litecoin. But I gotta get the Litecoin dig. It's not a 3 amigos until I dig at Litecoin. So you got all that, and then you got like Ethereum doing its thing at EOS and a whole bunch of things that just do a completely different thing. All like the new blockchains are kind of like, Bitcoin's old school. We're doing something new. But this is like a Bitcoin based blockchain, very similar, but just next level, next gen. And that's going to be really exciting because a lot of these other coins have started from scratch. Wasn't that the title of a documentary funded by the Dash blockchain? Sorry. Anyway, so a lot of them have to start from scratch, and that means there's a lot of problems that Bitcoin has been hardening over the years, figuring out, doing updates, optimizations, and things like that. And I'm just looking forward to seeing that solid foundation power something really next level with Dash. And like I'm not a very technical person, but I've still been trying to read every little bit about Codablock's blog posts in terms of, I had to reread the BLS versus ECDSA signature one and then go Wikipedia both of those and then look at some extra stuff to figure out how the signature schemes work. He's talking about optimizations for some of these and the uptime of all that. I was just looking into all that, and then I start to understand actually, like years and years, I did not understand at all how SegWit worked or what it really did or who cared. And now I get it. And now I get that Dash is doing something better. Then you're talking about Schnorr signatures and stuff like that for BTC. And it sounds cool now I've looked into it. But again, it looks like Dash is one step ahead of the game with that too. And just like, it's like and I always thought, or kind of, I didn't really think, but like the only info in my head about scaling on chain was pretty much just make the blocks bigger and make sure you have the hardware and the nodes and stuff to run it. But just the amount of optimizations, like the way the orphan rate went way down after 0.12.13 because of the implementation of compact blocks, and then supposedly XThin is going to be implemented soon for even more, and then all these different optimizations and things like that. I mean, it's pretty incredible how far we've come from like ghetto 2009 Bitcoin, And I'm talking about BTC in 2018. People don't understand how far that's come. I mean, people just think, well, it's the same old thing, same old block size. Well, no, there's a lot of really good stuff that's been built on that. And then Dash is just that plus an extra big thing of other extra functionality. So I'm excited.
Hey, on the new release, the 13.0 release, is originally we were going to have to change the collateral input. We're not have to do that anymore, correct?
That is one thing I've heard. I don't think, again, we're talking about a group with legendary communication abilities. So I don't know exactly.
I think that's supposed to be the case. Yeah. That we don't have to change.
But here's another interesting thing with all that stuff. We're talking about evolution and blockchain usernames and the Dash Pay wallet, something that I didn't know at first. It was not immediately apparent to me until it started to be outlined on the core call, and then I asked some of the developers, and they clarified. So it seems like Dash Pay is going to be a really streamlined app, like a really like idiot-proof kind of app, and it's going to include the evolution features such as usernames and contact lists and profiles and stuff. Now, the Android and iPhone apps will, from what I heard, the plan is in parallel be updated to include the evolution features. So you can keep your old Dash wallet that has like Uphold integrated right into it, and you just will get your usernames and stuff in there, but plus you'll be able to do more complicated things like your XPub keys and things like that, and just more old school stuff, and you'll be able to do both. And so for the faithful, for those of us here and probably listening to the podcast, some of us will probably only use the Dash Pay wallet when it comes out just for curiosity, but it's really not meant for people like us. It's meant for people who just are, just really streamlined. So that was an interesting thing to think about. And
yeah, I guess what the team will continue to work on is within the Dash Pay wallet is the privacy accounts. That I think that's supposed to be part of it eventually. The multi-user accounts, like in the video that was posted 2 years ago, with all those features.
Yeah,
reoccurring payments.
I was talking to some guy who's working on a company that's basically their goal. I think they're going live on the 1st of January. That's basically doing payroll and accounting and tax calculations stuff for cryptocurrency, having like a platform that allows for that to be done really easily, and including like handling payroll to where you can have a multi-sig account with like the few people who are in charge of doing payroll that can go get all the employees paid, and it's easy to rotate out the keys if someone leaves the position, for example. And talking about to preserve privacy, so you don't just have a list of single static addresses for each employee you pay, to have XPub keys so you can generate a new address each time. And I was talking to him about, hey, well, when Evolution comes out, you just need a username and all that other stuff happens back end. He's getting really excited about it. So it's going to really simplify a lot of stuff for like the big boys in the adult world trying to like run actual businesses off of this stuff.
One thing I'm looking forward to is the deterministic masternode lists. Now, the treasury at the moment has a limited budget, but from the insights that we've seen from dashintel.org, where we've seen the participation of masternodes actually voting for proposals, I'm curious to see how many masternode owners, operators take advantage of this and give their voting rights role to someone else to vote on their behalf that they trust on proposals. So I'm interested in just like the data insight to see if people do that and how that actually impacts the voting, because right now it's not everyone is voting as much as they have done in the past. So I'm just curious just to see how that impacts. For me personally, I can't envision myself giving that voting power away, but I understand some people, professionals, have very busy lives and they don't have the time to research proposals. So
yeah, in the future we're going to have to, because it's going to get, I mean, there's going to be hundreds of proposals. There's going to have to be some kind of a system, some kind of a company set up or something to where the master nodes, probably to where we can go and vote on the stuff that we want, but there's going to have to be some kind of an outsourced something or another, because it's going to be too overwhelming. I don't know how it's going to work.
It could be. I generally think that a lot of people already kind of do that. They already kind of do follow the leader. And that's the thing that people, it's so funny because this is a decentralized space. It's a technology-based world, yet so many people kind of avoid the personal and social aspects of this. And part of it is because a lot of technical people aren't the best socially. It just kind of is what it is. But you need to be good at the human element. And so all that to say, a lot of people vote not based on what's best, but they vote based on what other people say a lot of times. Like, oh yeah, this is great. Oh, this is a scammer, blah, blah, blah. Just, all right, I'm just going to follow what he does. And that's kind of an inefficient way of doing things to a certain extent for people who don't form their own opinions on thorough research. And I don't mean they can't or they suck at it. It just means they don't for time constraints or whatever. Those people, every masternode owner should do their due diligence or operator, let's say. And every masternode operator should do their due diligence in researching all the proposals that they vote on, and hopefully vote on all of them, and make sure they do their absolute best effort to do the most educated, wise vote that they can. And sometimes that might be having someone else do it for you if you can't. Someone else you cover. It doesn't, but it's still on your responsibility, because if you pick a dummy to vote in your stead and he does some terrible things, that's still on you.
No, I can see in the future where there's multiple Dash funded organizations and they do these voting and for the people. And then we're able to look at statistically, which organization had the best track record with funding the best, things that made the most money, et cetera, et cetera. And, maybe there's 3 of them and one of them has a better track record, then everybody kind of goes with that one. Or maybe they're specializing in different areas, something like that.
Yeah. Or there might be some people who have a way of avoiding conflict of interest. I don't have proposals up or don't have interest and publicly disclose all interest. They just kind of remain neutral, and they publicly post their voting recommendations ahead with some detailed reports ahead of like a week out. And then other people can follow their votes, or eventually some people might just say, I really like the way you do stuff. Why don't you have my keys? And so I don't have to read your reports and agree with you. Oh, that sounds good. I'll follow what you say. You might have some stuff like that. And obviously, I think that I do think that a good chunk of masternode operators, if not half or more, should probably do their own voting just to make sure that the money is aligned with the final thing. But, you know, I'd rather, as always, the market provides. The easier something is to do, the more it will happen. And so a lot of people just don't vote, or they vote poorly. And to vote well, like a well-researched opinion, I think will happen a lot more if it's easier. And part of being easier is just let someone else do it.
Hey, another question I got about the new release. Supposedly, we're going to be able to not have to restart the master nodes every time. Is that part of the 13?
I believe so.
Okay, that would be great. Excellent. Yeah.
Nodes going offline and stuff. No good.
Automatically restarts. Yeah, that people can just buy a node and set it and just kind of forget it. Hopefully vote. But
hey guys, this just
sir.
in. So I apologize for tapping on my keyboard there. I had Pastor, Dashcore developer, just send me a quick message. So he's been listening to us, avid fan, which is good to know. And he just wanted
he's trying to clarify some dumb stuff we've been saying.
Well, he just wanted to point something out just for clarity.
See?
So it's regarding the privacy we were discussing before with the Bitcoin Cash, Wasabi, and Cash Shuffle wallet. So he's given me a couple sentences just to quote him as. So he's saying, my Dash wallet knows the source of your funds and the location of the amount you're sending to. The servers with Wasabi and Cash Shuffle do not have an ability to link your inputs to your outputs due to enhanced cryptography. Yeah. So I think he just wanted to make sure that we were crystal clear on that.
That was in the article. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that basically. I just, for simplicity's sake, was just saying, hey, you can already do something that's central, whatever. But yeah, he's right, of course.
Yeah. So one other thing about the summary call before we put that to bed was that there was a question that I believe Bob addressed, and it was a question from the live Q&A, and it was about the progress on the DashPay usernames, how that's going to work, because obviously there's a transaction, right, to do that. So how do you onboard new users? And it was quite interesting. People interpreted the answer in different ways, because Bob kind of answered saying, at the moment, we don't have a definitive answer because we have different ideas within the core team that we're still exploring, and we don't have like a concrete answer to give on that straight away that we're happy with sharing. But we are discussing this within the core team, and when we have the details, we'll release them. But it does pose some interesting questions, because I'm sure everyone's going to want to try and grab as many DashPay usernames as possible. But then the question is that if you're a new user to Dash, and you don't have any Dash, but you want to register the service and, register a Dash Pay username, and you don't have any Dash to do that transaction, how's that going to work? And, some people think, you're going to have to refer a friend. Is there going to be like an affiliate scheme? All kinds of people got different ideas. How did you guys interpret that? Because the Dash Pay username really is the cryptocurrency your grandmother can use line, and it's so instrumental to our cause, right? So...
Yeah, one of the things that's a little scary is that Bitshares has done this for a long time. They've had usernames for two years or so. They also had a in-wallet exchange. So it's more the whole ecosystem that has to come together, different pieces for it to be really useful. But hopefully they looked at how Bitshares set that up. And yeah, that was an issue with them as well back in the day.
Yeah, I was talking a little bit more with Joshua on Wednesday, which, by the way, the Dash meetup in Portsmouth on Wednesday had 14 people from 3 different states come there. So that's a pretty big. All of them paid in Dash. I paid with CoinText. I paid my AnyPay invoice. I just texted a number with SMS and just paid, which is pretty cool. And then we sent about $5 worth of Dash to everyone around the table, just text to text to text to text to text. And so that was pretty cool. But anyway, talking about the usernames, it seems like to register the username and have credits to go spend on stuff like changing your profile and things like that, it should be extremely cheap. Like just a few cents gets you really far. And so when you set up someone else, it should be pretty easy to like, hey, someone sets you up. Someone sent you your first whatever to get started. And then just like a Gmail invite, that should be really easy and really cheap to do. If you're a current Dash user, obviously you just take like a couple pennies off your stash and you jump right in. And then of course, if you're at conferences or whatever else and you're just setting people up with new wallets, it's just so easy to, pay for it to like right on the spot to do that. And beyond that, I think that faucets might be a very good way of getting this done.
Yeah.
Can't we make it even more simple? Because we want it to be as simple and straightforward as possible. Would it not be possible, just thinking pie in the sky here, would it not be possible for the treasurer community or Dash Core group to set up like a wallet fund for credits for people to create usernames, so they don't even have to think that there has to be a transaction for me to make it. They can just literally go, oh, okay, what's your username, and it can be deducted from that. If we're talking like fractions of a cent for a transaction, I'm sure we can put something together like that. So then it takes that friction away, because we want it to be frictionless. We don't want a big barrier to entry. We want it to be simple and straightforward as possible.
Yeah, people can come on the Dash Talk Discord, and we could tip them if they're having issues and give them a little.
Well, I mean, like they could hide it in the background, so like you could just open up the applications, like register username, password, so they don't even have to think about it. And beforehand we've put something, so we've got a big stash that is just purely allocated to usernames, so like they don't even have to think about it. It's just it's hidden in the background. This is just an idea. I don't even know if it's plausible, feasible. I'm sure the core team have already thought about it. It's just, Dash Pay is so big, and we've been waiting 3 years for this. And I know everyone watching this is excited for it, and frustrated like me, because I want to see it. I want to use it as well. But the thing is that it has to be the message and the usability has to work for people within core, but also people that are completely fresh and new to cryptocurrency. They don't even know what cryptocurrency is. They need to be able to pick it up and just use it like any other application, and just not even think about this stuff. It should just be intuitive. And that's why I want it to be. If we have to do all this, refer a friend, or sign up to a faucet, get some Dash, then come back and sign up, or go to a Discord channel, it's just too many barriers. And how can we say ease of use then? Like, I feel like we're shooting ourselves in the foot taking that approach.
Yeah. Now, you said something, Mark, about there was a list of things that were going to be included in 13.0 after the call. I guess I missed that.
Yes. So on the official Dash Twitter account @DashPay, there was a blog post shared, and it breaks down all the details of 0.13. And it's pretty good.
So here we go. Just go to blog.dash.org, and it's the most recent post. It says product brief, Dash Core release 0.13. I'll post the link in the live chat.
Was that Liz? Was it Liz that did it? Because they talked about was that right?
Yep. Yes. Okay. And I guess the other thing we should address from the summary call is that there was an update. So there was a few questions asking what happened to the what's going on with Dash bi-weekly reports. And they've said, moving on forward from here, they will be posting new monthly updates. And after the summary call, they shared a PDF of the slides, but then afterwards as well with the extra new slides.
Which here's me being a hater again. I'm sorry. I'm usually a big cheerleader of the core team. But when you're posting an update, it's like you do a 2-hour-long call that's few people have the time to sit through and just listen to every word, which is why I do it, and write up the little summary of like what are my big takeaways. And then you're like, oh, by the way, in case you watch that whole thing and want to see all the stuff again but slower, here's the slides to that call you already didn't want to go sit through to begin with. Oh, and we didn't even tell you that we had a bunch of extra stuff way at the bottom there. It's like, it's a lot of good in-depth information, but it's like way to put a whole lot of work into something pretty cool that you just try your best to make sure no one knows it exists.
Yeah, they did send out a ping or whatever on the Blockfolio. I did get that. And then, yeah, y'all pointed out, well, scroll to the bottom. There's all kinds of new information. And yeah,
Yeah. So for those that have not seen it and were familiar with the previous This Week in Dash reports, basically Core listened to some of the criticism when they were giving out the bi-weekly reports. It would break down each department, saying like, you know, what's happening next, and a lot of the time, when they were looking at, you know, the following week, a lot of stuff would be the same. So it would be hard to decipher what had actually changed. So this new format kind of displays that, okay, here's what we're up to on a department basis and what's coming next. So it's a lot clearer, and it also includes some metrics as well, which is, you know, it looks nice and it's a welcome addition as well. So hopefully they'll stick with that moving forward, because I think that's a very welcome addition, and clearly the community wanted that because they were asking about it. So yeah. It's a welcome addition. So I just hope in the future, obviously it's going to be kept separate from the slides of the summary call and presented that way.
I mean, if Core wanted to actually hire me as a communications person, I'd just take an extra $500 a month, and I would make it work so well. It'd be better. You wouldn't be better believe it. It would be perfect. Be the best. I'm saying, like, I literally just say, hey guys, look at the extra stuff we have now. Oh, get ready for this. This is going to be great. Or just like answer questions that are not going to be answered by saying they're not going to be answered. But anyway.
I'm waiting for Joel just to bring out another baseball cap and put it on that says like "Make Dash Great Again."
I do have some extra props, but you'll have to see those later.
Very, very quick shout out. I wanted to say hello and thank you to
hello
Dash Text, because we did an article on them just yesterday. They had a new announcement, and essentially they've integrated Dash Text into the POS systems in Venezuela, which is really instrumental. I know we said this before, but those that are kind of new to this, only 40% of Venezuela has smartphones. So really for real world use and adoption, which they're doing a phenomenal job on boarding merchants, this plays a really pivotal role, and they uploaded a video just to display how this works at a print services, I believe, and it looks great. It looks fantastic. So well done to Dash Text for, in these crazy times where there's so much drama going on, they're actually focusing on cryptocurrency being used as money. Who would think of it, you know? But it's really good that with all this drama going on, people can just, you know, keep their heads down, stay focused, and keep pushing and delivering results. And that's what we should be doing. Does that mean we come into the hash wars part, I guess?
Yeah, I don't have the music queued up. But so in case y'all didn't notice, there's a man, a myth, a legend of sorts. Some say he's the savior of all. Others say he's just a big jerk. Craig Wright has decided that he wants to take over. This is my biased reading, okay? Don't expect any objectivity here. He's decided he wants to take over the Bitcoin Cash chain and has launched a big old hash war. And then there's been some pushback. So let's keep in mind two things. First off, there's two key elements at play here. Nothing's ever super simple. Two key elements. One is the actual technical disagreements. People have reasons to back the ABC implementation, which is, I guess you could call it the original Bitcoin Cash implementation. It's more or less correct. And the Bitcoin SV implementation. SV takes the 32 megabytes, puts them up to 128 megabytes, re-enables some old opcodes, just some other random stuff. But basically the philosophy behind that is, let's keep Bitcoin as old school as possible. Keep that manual transmission in. Keep that the no power steering in. Keep the old chrome exterior. Just rev it a good old fashioned antique muscle car. And the Bitcoin ABC thing is basically saying make Bitcoin Cash Dash again. No, that's a little unfair, but basically a few extra things. Like for example, one of the new opcodes being introduced is essentially to allow some sort of data type transactions that are more specialized to data applications rather than purely money applications. If you notice in the 0.13 update, Dash is also working on special transaction types which are kind of a higher powered version of sort of the same thing. And AUC is, I believe, keeping the block size 32 megabytes, doing a few other things. And one of the things it's intending to do is to do something called pre-consensus. Now, I don't know if this is in the current version or if it's just planned in the future, but something called pre-consensus, which is basically a way for all nodes to agree on transactions ahead of time before they ever get written in the blockchain as a kind of ghetto instant send. And basically trying to do everything they can to make Bitcoin Cash catch up to Dash, Bitcoin catch up. Anyway. And so there's basically the fundamental disagreement is, should Bitcoin be as old school as possible, or should it evolve with the times? That's the one disagreement. The other disagreement is who's going to be the jerk who runs this thing. And Craig Wright's fighting for power with his buddy Calvin Ayre versus, I guess, Bitmain and Roger Ver, Bitcoin.com, all those, that whole group. Who knows who has power, but they're going for those two things. So interesting to note in this is hash wars are hash wars, right? If someone's going to fight a war, like, you can't really stop them from doing that. You got to fight back. The first question could have easily been solved with a masternode vote. Like, what are we going to implement into the next protocol? What's a good idea? What isn't? You put it to a vote, and then that wins out. And then because both sides are disagreeing on who's the attacker and who isn't. They're both being a lot of childish fighting back and forth. But it's like, well, we're the real people. You're the attacker. Well, if you solve it by a vote, you know who's official and who's just, and if you try to attack the chain and brute force with hash power after the decision is already in, then you know that it's just an attack. And then there's a lot of like social elements to this. So the recap of what's happened so far as I'm able to tell, and I'm giving the real like noob rundown, which, hey, if I can understand it that much, you should be able to as well. The smarter people can chime in more. But you got Craig Wright's CoinGeek plus SV Pool and some others got ahead of the fork, got a whole bunch of hash power, like 75% of it, and to big show for us. They keep trying to make it over as soon as possible. But after the split, it's the chain split in two, right? And there's no replay protection, no effective replay protection. Let's put it that way. So they're kind of fighting to be on the same chain. And Bitcoin SV has been falling behind because Bitcoin.com, good old Roger, has at the last minute, or seemingly last minute, whatever, has announced that BTC miners, Bitcoin miners, would be now in the mining pool, would now be, their hash rate would be directed to Bitcoin Cash. They'd still get their Bitcoin payouts, their BTC payouts, but it's basically just like redirecting the old hash rate. And I don't know how I feel about that. It seems a little sketch, but whatever it is, Bitcoin ABC has gotten a good head start on the whole thing. And of course, as evening out a little bit over time, the other thing people realize that this is something that I have an article open that I have to read to try to understand a little bit more. But apparently ABC introduced something called a checkpoint in the code, which basically means locks in stone all blocks up until a certain block height, which basically prevents someone from doing a big reorg of the chain behind a certain point. And then a bunch of Bitcoin SV people are saying, oh, it's terrible, it's centralization, and all this kind of stuff. I am kind of looking into it, but apparently Satoshi himself, the real one, right? Not the Craig Wright, but the real one implemented some checkpointing back in the early days to prevent, in the early days of Bitcoin, to prevent a 51% attack from just reorganizing the whole chain, kind of like as a like an autosave point in like a game every few minutes or whatever, to just autosave the progress of the chain. And then that was later removed. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Yeah, I'm guessing you have to have a majority of the nodes to upgrade to that checkpoint, or else you're going to have problems.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most interesting things that I've seen. I know there was lots of live streams, people eating their popcorn, either watching Twitter, YouTube. There was lots of coverage and drama where people were counting the blocks. But for me personally, I watched an interview with Craig Wright on the Crypto Show. So shout out to Danny and Chuck. It was very interesting. And basically, for me,
explain the joke. There was a joke in there somewhere where Craig Wright was saying that he was an Austrian, as in he's into Austrian economics, and then Danny was like, "Oh, I thought you were Australian," and he totally did not get the joke at all. He's like, "No, I'm Austrian." Oh, and no, it was a joke. He's not a humor-filled person.
But like, he's more of a status though, because he's got the patents and he's wanting to sue and he's threatening lawsuits. That's not very libertarian.
Yeah, he had a big claim though. Essentially, Danny asked him, said, "Suppose you win the hash war. What's next? Are you going to attack BTC?" And then Craig Wright was very blunt and said, BTC is already finished. He doesn't need to attack them because BTC has a fatal flaw due to SegWit, and it will be dead by the end of 2019. So I don't know if it sounds like you guys watched that same interview as well. So do you think he's just all talk? Is he all fart, or is he no poo?
Other people in his camp are saying that they still plan to attack Bitcoin. They want to, after they attack Bitcoin Cash and some alts and gather up a bunch of money, then they're supposedly going to attack Bitcoin. But yeah, he did say that. And I don't know if it's a flaw in SegWit, like a technical flaw, or it's something, once again, that he's going to sue because it makes it some, there's it violates like some SEC rule or something like that. I'm unclear about.
Yeah, who knows what he's talking about. Honestly, here's the thing with that person that we have to remember is, if he says he's planning on doing some things, you could probably trust that. He's probably going to do what he says he's going to do. We're going to try. But when he's talking about like how things work and what is and isn't, I would trust anything. I mean, geez, he has no idea how Dash works, but he's saying like, "Oh, I've already found a way to compromise the privacy, all these privacy coins, and everyone's going to get sued, and just like everything's going to go down." It's just like, I don't know. I mean, it's literally like that kid when you're playing like war games outside as like a child, and he's just like, "I got a super laser bazooka that prevents me from getting killed. I just killed you all in a second. Sorry." Like, you can't do that. Like, "Yeah, I just did." It's like one of those dudes. Like, you can't trust him. He just makes up stuff that's convenient to him.
Yeah, he's already failed though, because he said he was going to take over and have all the hash power and everything else. And now he's saying that, yeah, people don't understand how it works, and that he's like building this secret block and he's going to try to reorg, but then they got the checkpoints. It's all very crazy. It's fun to watch. I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the network? 'Cause obviously the cryptocurrency isn't just about coin market cap and the price denomination of how much dollars it's worth, but
thank God for that.
But obviously the hash war has had caused a bit of a bear market and a huge drop, and it has caused a bit of a panic and a scare. So like there's a lot of people out there very worried now about the future of it, because if these guys are effectively losing money mining empty blocks just out of spite, just to try and prove their own way, but if it causes huge detriment and trust, I mean, this is at this very moment, people are waiting for December 12th with the backed launch, and people talking about institutional money coming in, and now all this drama happens and it affects the whole crypto sphere. And what are your guys' thoughts on that? Because it is damaging to crypto for people that aren't in the space looking in. It doesn't look very trustworthy, right?
I blame him. I blame him for the dip.
Right. Yeah. Don't look right.
No, I blame him for the dip. He's created a bunch of uncertainty, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and that's what's crashed the price. And he was threatening to, dump a bunch of Bitcoin, and threatening people if they mine on the ABC chain, that's going to cause him to dump a bunch of Bitcoin so he can buy a bunch more hash power. He's really emerging as more of a villain than he was before.
Yeah, and like a crypto villain, like for all crypto, just trying to wreck it all.
Yeah, it's the backlash from we're all going to join
by
forces.
The way, someone, I'm looking at you, Mark. Someone needs to make a Wreck-It Ralph meme, except Wreck-It Right instead. He's just gonna go smashing everything in sight. It's just kind of what he's doing. I think
It's self-destruct mode, right?
It's one of those things where if you are in crypto right now, especially if you have to, you rely on the price to do things, you find ways of dealing with the crypto winter. You know, winter is coming. Bundle up, put on your big oak, like get some side income in fiat or whatever. Do what you can, because it's gonna be a long, rough night, but it's gonna shake out a lot of dumb stuff. There's just, you just look at the top 10, get rid of them. Like, obviously I'm not being quite, it's not quite that simple, but like most of the top 10 don't deserve to be there and are probably holding the space back. And the thing is, how do you think
you know a lot of people in you know a lot of Bitcoin cashers. Do you honestly think now that they would, you know, look at Dash, or do you think they're just so ingrained with what's going on with the hash wars right now, they haven't even contemplated taking a move? But surely they must be second guessing everything, because they're having to make decisions and look at things. But like, cryptocurrency was meant to be decentralized, not about individuals. So like, surely some of their core beliefs, you know, because the question was like, you know, what is money? That's what it's all about. And we're looking for a better solution, trying to replace the legacy system. But now it's becoming about individuals and strong beliefs. And I think now some people have been following that path. Sure, some people are chasing profit. I get that. I understand that. We'll get that in every market. But some of those people that were Bitcoiners and then followed the fork to Bitcoin Cash, they must be a little bit shaken now to the core. Boom, boom.
If they weren't before, they will, because this is just the start of it. It's going to continue. If y'all read that, I think TechnoGov posted a Medium post about like the different attacks, and there's like different guerrilla warfare type attacks. It's not really like the chain splint and the 51% takeover, but there's so many ways he can disrupt ABC, and this thing could go out for a long time. He could really shake their confidence, and so maybe they will trickle into Dash as the war goes on.
I'm great at pessimism sometimes. This is one of those times. My pessimistic viewpoint, I would say realistic viewpoint, and I've kind of done because a few of the people I trust the most who are in the Bitcoin Cash community, who have given a lot of sympathy and praise towards Dash. There's a few names I can think of off the top of my head. I've poked them all on this, and it seems like, remember my Lost Years article? I'm gonna dump it in the live chat in a second here, just in case. But basically, I was just saying, look, we've lost years of adoption while you guys were clinging on to BTC when it wasn't working, and then now in trying to get Bitcoin Cash off the ground, and then just all the technical problems it's had and stuff. Basically, we've lost years of adoption because you guys wouldn't just move over to Dash or even Litecoin or something that just you could kind of get moving on. And I kind of they kind of agree, yeah, that's true, but yeah, we're still fighting for true Bitcoin. And like, the problem is pretty much anyone who's involved, who's a Bitcoin Cash diehard today, is in it for cryptocurrency adoption related reasons. They're in it for, and I'm obviously ascribing a lot of intent to people. There's a lot of people with a bunch of different motivations, but I'm just saying, by and large, most of them care primarily about the philosophy, about the brand of Bitcoin. It's a nostalgia type value thing. They want Bitcoin to succeed. Something called Bitcoin, something that's old school, that's got to win against the central banks and stuff. And they're just fighting over it. Just like the one true, and someone actually compared it to like a religious holy war of people fighting for this intangible, fighting for these God's will, the true Lord of the church or whatever. They're fighting for that intangible. So long story short, are Bitcoin Cash people going to shake out and go towards Dash? I don't think so. I just think that as Bitcoin Cash atrophies, I think that it will not take on new members, while Dash will take on new members. That's kind of more how it'll. There's a few
parallels though, right? I mean, because most of us here, we moved over from Bitcoin to Dash, right? Because we saw decentralized. A lot of us were fed up with the censorship of Reddit and the no mechanism for reaching consensus and the constant drama. So we saw the merit in Dash. So I do believe there are some parallels there, but maybe it's too early for the Bitcoin Cash people to say like, look, I've had enough of this. But I think if the drama keeps going on, they're going to start having those philosophical questions, saying like, this governance thing is crazy. What's preventing this happening again a year further down the line? And something's going to have to give. So like, either I step away from this community completely and just forget blockchain, cryptocurrency even existed, or I still believe in the merit and the mission objective of what it sets out to achieve. But now my goals have realigned, and what best fits that now is Dash and what they offer. I mean, that's why I came from Bitcoin to Dash. So why wouldn't Bitcoin Cash people do that?
Yeah,
with Dash?
because Bitcoin was the best way of winning, and then Dash was kind of like, let me put it this way: in the long years that it's been since I exited Bitcoin, came to Dash, Dash has grown up so much, but it was rough in the early days. I'm not talking about what Dash basically offered. I'm just talking about the infrastructure. Like even the code wasn't all backported to Bitcoin. It wasn't all synced up. And then just the number of exchanges that have integrations, a number of other services, the wallets, just all the kind of stuff around the ecosystem. It was just not at all ready to push for mass adoption. Just the liquidity was terrible. It just was such a Bitcoin only world back then. And so now it's changed. But I'm saying during that whole time, like after this big hash war is over, or rather after it's, give it a month, if the hash war's either over, unless it's over decisively and we have this giant rebounding, if there's any collateral damage a month from now, and those people don't look at other options and they just want to resist Dash, I mean, they're not going to come over. I think that what you will have at some point is you will have a critical mass of Dash adoption, and cryptocurrency enthusiasts will largely start paying attention and start, oh, this is cool. But I don't think they're ever going to be Dash fans first. They'll just be grudging Dash users because the branding, the fandom, it makes too much sense. It's not ethereal enough, pardon the pun. It's not like this, like I get to it doesn't get you in the warm Bitcoin feelies of the heart. It's just too much like, hey, this just works. And that's not what people are about.
No, I think both of y'all's scenarios could be right, and that the fatigue will set in. We'll keep doing more things. I've just, on Twitter won over one of the skeptics just by posting the Dash Force news articles. And, he was saying that, well, who has the, record for the most transactions? And he was trying to say it was Bitcoin Cash. I posted our article. No, it's Dash has it right now. And then he kept asking other questions, and I keep posting other articles. And he finally said, yeah, I like Dash and da-da-da-da-da. And as this thing drags on, if it does, because I don't think Craig Wright's going to go away, people are going to get frustrated with it. And I think we're going to see some more people come over, refugees.
Yeah, it depends how long.
Cash.
It depends how long it drags out. I mean, the scaling thing literally went on for years. The drama in Bitcoin, and the SegWit as well. Yeah, they announced it, and then we waited. It seemed like forever for that to be integrated. They said it was going to, solve a lot of things, and then it never did. And then so I just feel like you're right. I think fatigue is the right way to address this. If this keeps dragging out, people are going to get really annoyed, and they're just going to get fed up with it. And the more that they see it's about individuals, they'll come back to the core reasons, like, why did I first get involved in cryptocurrency? And how can we prevent this happening again? I don't want to pledge allegiance or follow or put my money behind something and then have this happen again a year down the line. What happens to all the merchants that have already, on all the footwork that we've done, trying to onboard merchants and integrations of businesses? Yeah. We're just burning everything down to the ground. Just
and where else? And where else are they going to go? To IOTA? To Tron?
I mean,
well, not proof of work coins, so they probably would go for proof of stake.
Litecoin, I think that's been around. They're not gonna. Yeah, they're not doing anything.
I feel like we just need a kind of like paradigm shift, right? Because right now, everyone, especially within cryptocurrency, is used to the wallets. Studios in the live chat has just mentioned dApps. Now, if Evolution delivers everything that it does, I truly feel we could have that kind of iPhone moment where that came in and then it was kind of like, oh, it's a smartphone, but it's got applications on a phone, and it just changes the way you think about things. So I know that's a lot of hopium, but I do believe that will change the way people
that term is trademarked. I think you just plagiarized right there.
Yeah. Also, I was going to say Dash Ventures also. That's a huge game changer. We really need the market cap to go up for those things to really shine. But man, that's a huge thing.
Yeah. So there's a few key things that are going to have to happen. So first off, there are still some people that don't understand, that don't know what Dash is doing, because they just don't pay attention to the random news articles floating by, like, oh, whatever. Like they're not curious. They're kind of in their bubble. Those people need to be blasted across the face with the truth, to where they have to acknowledge the information. At that point, I think a lot of people will switch over, but not a giant chunk. But I do think there are people that just say, oh, I've been paying attention. And then, it's like, why not? But then you just say, did you know that there's like 2,200 merchants in Venezuela that take Dash now, and you could pay with your little texty phone? And like what? Oh my gosh. Like, did you know that, like, when some people get that, but if they're not sold after that moment, then who cares? But there are going to be some things. I think people are sitting around and waiting to find out what is going to be the thing that really matters. What is going to be the blockchain that survives? People thought everything else experimental. They thought proof of work was like good. And now you see the hash wars. I mean, proof of work hasn't failed yet, but it's the hash wars are giving people some pause. Now, if Dash can implement something that's strong, that strengthens proof of work against outside attacks, which I've seen so many hints by our little squirrely dev friend over there, who just won't tell us. He's such a tease. Then that could be a huge thing. If you solve double spends, solve the security problem of the network, and then you come out with the mass adoption based thing, and then you just shout it to the whole world, and then I'd say 60 to 80% of the crypto space will just kind of not care. I mean, maybe I'm this pessimistic, but 68 would just, they just, oh, well, it's not the thing we cared about. But then those people who come on board, will be ecstatic. And then it's outside the cryptoverse. You just go out to the random people on the street. Like, that's who you really care about. And at that point, Dash is getting really close to being ready to just get your random everyone on board. And there's so many services, and I'm just going to keep on. Every time I'm about to finish a sentence and Brian's about to start talking, I'm just going to forcefully start to talk again. So I keep hearing him like start trying to talk. All right.
I was just saying Masternode shares. That's another one. There's just so many things that are just adding up that eventually people are going to have to see the light and come to Dash.
Yeah. And at some point, it's your turn too, Mark. I'm going to hit you.
No, I was just
going
to say, I noticed that CrowdNode has got like 7 masternodes now. So like, last time I looked, there were like 4 or 5, and now they're up to 7. So when you mentioned masternode shares, people are using it, and so that's another a great thing. And another thing, the great thing that Dash offers. I mean, we shouldn't really talk about Dash in terms of investing sense. I know Ryan probably wouldn't be happy with those terms, but people are generally interested in that, and it is a unique feature that we offer.
I mean, you do talk about you do have to talk about Dash's features and what it does, and what its possible use cases, possible value are. It has nothing to do with the dollar amount of people's holdings by buying some going up, right? If there's something like either Neptune's pooling service or CrowdNode or something, especially if you could a CrowdNode dApp. Think about that for a second. Integrate CrowdNode directly into a Dash Evolution wallet, to where you can just kind of like shovel some over into your savings thing. And then not only can you send usernames anywhere, super easy, but you could do instant confirmations, and then you can just shove some to your savings account, and it's all like, you're just going to be like, why are you, Marx just could go around to everyone with any kind of a Bitcoin that they're using and just say, "You'll use it, dinosaur money," because at that point it's going to be just so old, it's just so not competitive.
Another thing we have is the
there we
bit
go.
refill.
Peter from CrowdNode is all happy we're talking about the system.
Yeah, another thing we got is the bit refill, and hopefully we continue with that. And the 10% discount, I think it's about 10%. But yeah, all these little things, all these little things have got to add up, and people have got to see the light at some point.
I agree with what Joe was saying as well about people will eventually see the adoption that we're doing. And at this point, while we're talking about other projects in the Dash ecosystem, I just want to give a Dash salute to George Donnelly, who was on the Bitcoin Meister YouTube channel earlier, talking about Colombia and the merchant adoption he was doing there. I thought he did a fantastic job. If you guys haven't seen that yet, make sure you hop on over to that channel and show some support in the comments. Because that's what we need. We need to get out there. Why people are talking, philosophy and fighting internally fighting each other. We just need to keep on building and doing what we're doing right. And there's a fantastic bit in the video, which was kind of like a mic drop moment, which it wasn't, purposely intended, and it was a good thing for Dash, where Adam, the host, was talking about how he's kind of a well-known Bitcoin maximalist, and I don't think he would deny that. He's slowly coming around, but he was like, "Oh, I like Bitcoin because it's for saving." And then George was kind of like, "Well, no, cryptocurrency is money, so it's not just for saving. I want money, and we need to be able to spend it, and we need a place to be able to spend it, which is why I'm in Colombia onboarding merchants." And it was kind of like a mic drop moment. So like, kudos to George on that. So check out that interview,
George.
So
it's like people just, it's going to be interesting because at some point results are trying the right things consistently over time. And Dash has been consistently building with an eye on being useful digital cash for the world over a long time, while everyone else has been messing around with all kinds of stuff. Now, like, I don't think people understand, like, and this applies to most of the Dash community too, I would say. Most of them are just waiting around for when's Evolution out. I think Evolution is going to be one little release, and then you're going to have this cool username thing. It's going to blow everyone's mind, and that's it. But the architecture behind it that enables everything, the next level of Dash, is already being rolled out. I would say version 0.13 is Evolution 1, Evo 1. And then 0.14, Evo 2. And then 1.0 is Evo Return of the Jedi or whatever. It's the close in the loop on it. But the thing is, here's the thing. Obviously, Dash Pay is going to be one of the first dApps out there. But then we got Andy, who has already put the architecture in place, Andy Freer, for the Evolution platform, and now is going to be focusing on building dApps, having some out the gate. Chuck wants to get involved. There's like a bunch of people. And let's not forget Dash Labs and the data collection protocol, which hopefully should be out in public beta in March around that time. There's just so much stuff that's been worked on for years and years and years and years that while everyone is busy breaking each other's stuff, then it's just all going to come out. And I mean, it's just going to be overwhelming at some point.
Yeah, Quantum Explorer is supposed to have a team there in Thailand also working on.
Did some interesting research.
They've got a proposal up right now, just gone up recently. So definitely.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just so many good proposals. They're not all going to make it. And there is some really good ones, but they're all not going to be funded. So that's unfortunate.
Can I just throw in one last question? I am conscious of the time and know we're going over. So this may be the last question. So I'm going to throw this question out from the live chat, and then one of you two can jump in. So earlier on, I was talking about evolution and the decentralized applications kind of being like the paradigm shift. So there's a question in the live chat from Vipro that says, Mark, when you talk about apps revolutionizing, how would you approach Ethereum fans about that? Guys, have you got anything that you would like to say to that? So when you talk about dApps and the raw potential or unlimited potential of Dash Evolution, how would you interest Ethereum fans with that? Because they've kind of already been used to people building on Ethereum. So how would you, especially their developer, because they have a very big developer community.
Okay, well, let me just say real quick. One of the main things is that they're going to be able to get paid to make these dApps for us. They're not going to get paid in Ethereum.
How would you win them over if they were like completely pro? Like if Ethereum fans, they've been building stuff on there. They may be developers, or maybe they're just Ethereum people saying like, well, you can already build stuff on Ethereum.
It's going to be easier. It's going to be much easier for a wider group of people, and it's not just crypto people. It's like developers, just all kinds of developers.
Yeah. So let me just say it in this way. First off, Dash is primarily a currency, not a DApp platform. So there might be some stuff that they want to build that's just only possible with Ethereum or something else. You guys keep doing that. For everything that is possible on Dash, I mean, first off, you're going to run on a blockchain that works. That's a big mic drop right there, because Ethereum just has not run. It's been expensive, just has had issues. And you're still trying to figure out how to scale one proof of stake. Who knows? It's just delayed. Anyway, big mess. Second thing, you won't have... the guy who developed the Dash drive explained to me about Ethereum. He says Ethereum is an incredibly expensive way of doing things because you have to put all the computations on chain. So the Ethereum itself has to compute everything for your dApps. Whereas with Dash, you'll be able to do all that off chain. You'll be able to do that locally, and then just only store the results in Dash drive with the hash on the actual blocks. So you only have to store the result. The Dash blockchain won't get all spammed to crap and back again because it'll only have to store the result of computations, won't have to run everything. That's just like, I don't know. It's like feeding dollar bills into a slot in your car to keep it running. It's just like at some point you don't want to have to be bleeding money just to like idle it or whatever. At some point you don't want to do something that's incredibly expensive. And finally, aren't y'all tired of having to learn Solidity and just having to do that one crap language just to do on this one chain? Wouldn't you rather know the stuff that's already useful to the rest of the world and actually build dApps in like JavaScript or something that you're already being paid for your JavaScript developing job over there? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I would just like to add on to that. So how would I approach Ethereum fans or developers and get them interested? Well, I would like to go back to the summary call, and Fernando had a very short part in that, and he was talking about the upcoming website refresh, and there'll be a dedicated developer section there. And we can't onboard developers without having that developer documentation and that kind of mechanism to actually a vehicle to onboard them to generate interest. So my point being that Core are aware of this and they are working on it. And with the website refresh, there will be a dedicated section specifically for developers. So if you're in an event and you're talking to someone and they are potentially a developer, or they have been working or interested in other projects, you can point them to this, and there'll be not just it's not just the web page information. There's resources on there and documentation. And as Joel was saying, with the DAPI, the decentralized API, people can actually just plug in, and it makes things much more streamlined and achievable, and it's much more cost effective as well. So I think developers not just being restricted by using one programming language will be. You can attract developers from all sorts, even developers that haven't even been in the cryptocurrency world yet. And as long as we can convey that message and get that message out, and I'm sure once the website is rolled out, Core will have plans. And also, Joel was talking about the street team a couple of weeks back when we had Chuck on, and Chuck was very passionate about this as well. And he said that the extra value that he thought he could bring to the table, especially when he moves to Hawaii, was actually talking about.
He's there already.
He's there now.
Follow on Facebook. Yeah. Sun-eating beaches while I had to shovel like this much of snow off of my car roof this morning. So,
so
for Chuck.
So like we've got movement on the ground. Hopefully Chuck is getting settled, but I'm sure he'll be up and running in no time. And that's what we need. We need grassroots movement. And I'm sure once Evolution is released and out, we'll probably see more hackathons and more developers showing their faces at events and stuff and getting people interested. And also developer events, things outside the cryptocurrency space. But I do agree with you. These things are important to the success of Dash.
Yeah, if you notice, the problem with something like Ethereum at this point is the sort of self-fulfilling prophecy aspect, where it's Ethereum is meant to build stuff in a vacuum, and that's why you need Ethereum to build dApps. But what do you need Dash for? For money. If people are already using this for money, notice all the cryptocurrency type and payment integrations into messaging apps, because people are already using Telegram to transact information, to talk back and forth. And then you just add the financial component back and forth. So people are already there. They already show up to the party. So then you upsell them. You upsell them by throwing in the money aspect. Dash is already the money aspect. You upsell by throwing like in the chat aspect. And now when people are already talking and transacting with money, you just start throwing out some extra stuff, like say, for example, package tracking and, stuff like that, like supply chain management. Put a supply chain management DApp that's already integrated in this and an encrypted messaging service, and the money you're paying people with, it's all right there. And then you build on the social network because people are already talking to each other and already paying each other with this thing. And then you have the Duff book, as I'm calling it, the Facebook on Dash Evolution DApp. And then people are already running their world in there, and then you just add things on. You're adding on to existing value, not just creating extra dApps out in the open, so in the hoping people actually use them.
Yeah, and that's where the usernames and everything comes in, the whole ecosystem, the whole platform, it all works together. All right, let's wrap it up.
Cool, man. Joel, you want to take us out?
Yeah. So don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, of course, YouTube. Put the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications for every single video gets uploaded, because you do not want to miss any of our stuff, because we always have something crazy going on. And make sure you subscribe and follow us. DashForceNews.com is the #1 source for Dash news and therefore cryptocurrency news in the world. So why don't you go make sure you keep following that. We do the after party, which so far is going to be limited to 10 people, but at some point we might split. We might have a hard fork and split into 2 after parties so we can accommodate 20 people. But basically, it's just this 10 of us just chatting like this, more casually, as long as we want. And that's going to happen in the Dash Talk Discord. If you're not there yet, you have to go to staydashy.com and you just get in. And then you just start asking around, where's the after party at? And if you're cool, which I'm assuming if you're watching this, odds are likely you're either a Monero troll or you are cool. So, which the two could possibly overlap, although it's rare. If you're cool, you'll probably get in. You get to hang out with us. So, as always, don't forget to stay dashy.
Cool, man. Right, we're going to do this, Mark. Yeah. Right. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. This was episode 78 of the Dash Force Free Amigos podcast. The podcast links will be updated tomorrow, so don't click on them just yet. But much appreciated. Have a fantastic weekend. And as always, stay positive, stay humble, but most importantly, stay dashy.
Peace out, y'all.